On the outskirts of a small, sleepy town, where the dense forest cast long, eerie shadows, stood an old house. It was a house no one dared to enter, not because of its dilapidated condition, but because of the stories that clung to it like ivy. They said the house was cursed, that once you stepped inside, you could never leave. Until the day a group of friends, lured by the thrill of the unknown, decided to test the legend for themselves. In the town of Hollow Creek, the whispers about the house at the edge of the woods had circulated for generations. The locals spoke of strange occurrences, flickering lights, whispers in the wind, and the chilling laughter of children long since past. But for a group of college students eager to film a documentary about the supernatural, these tales were merely enticing stories begging to be explored. Sarah, Mark, Jess, and Tom packed their equipment and set off one autumn afternoon, the sun low in the sky, casting an orange hue across the landscape. As they approached the house, an unsettling silence enveloped them. The air felt thick, almost tangible, as if the house itself was aware of their presence. The front door creaked open with little resistance, revealing a dark, musty interior. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light that penetrated the grimy windows. The wooden floors groaned under their weight, as if protesting their intrusion. "Let's set up in the living room," Sarah suggested, her voice steady but eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear. They arranged their cameras and lights, the beams cutting through the gloom, casting long, eerie shadows on the faded wallpaper. As they began to film, Tom, the group's skeptic, started narrating. "This house, built in the late 1800s, has seen its share of tragedy. Its original owners, the Wainwrights, vanished without a trace one stormy night. Since then, no one who entered has ever come out, or so the legend goes." Mark, the tech-savvy member, monitored the audio equipment, frowning as he noticed a strange interference. "Guys, there's something weird with the sound. It's like whispers." Jess, always the brave one, decided to explore further while the others adjusted their equipment. She ventured down a narrow hallway, her flashlight beam revealing old portraits with eyes that seemed to follow her every move. She paused at a door slightly ajar and pushed it open, revealing a child's bedroom. The air was colder here, and the room appeared untouched, as if frozen in time. A small, ornate music box sat on a dresser. Intrigued, Jess wound it up, and a haunting melody filled the room. Suddenly, the temperature dropped further, and she felt a cold breath on her neck. She spun around, but the room was empty. Heart pounding, she hurried back to the others, her face pale. "There's something wrong here," she whispered urgently. "I felt something." Back in the living room, the atmosphere grew heavier. The whispers Mark had mentioned grew louder, more distinct. The friends exchanged uneasy glances, but their curiosity pushed them forward. Sarah suggested they perform a séance, hoping to communicate with any lingering spirits. They gathered around a dusty old table, holding hands, a single candle flickering in the center. "Is there anyone here with us?" Sarah called out, her voice trembling slightly. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the candle flickered violently, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The whispers became clearer, forming disjointed words and phrases: "Help, trapped, beware." The friends' hands tightened, eyes wide with fear and fascination. Suddenly, the table shook violently, and a guttural voice echoed through the room, "Leave this place." Panicking, they broke the circle, and the room fell into an eerie silence once more. "We need to go," Tom urged, his skepticism shattered. But as they turned to leave, the front door slammed shut with a force that rattled the windows. The lights flickered, and the room plunged into darkness. They scrambled to find their flashlights, the beams revealing faces twisted in fear. The whispers turned into sinister laughter, echoing through the house. "We're not alone," Mark said, his voice barely a whisper. Jess, trying to keep calm, suggested they head to the kitchen, where another door led outside. They moved quickly, the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on them. As they reached the kitchen, the door was already ajar. Hope surged as they pushed it open, but it revealed not the safety of the outdoors, but another room, identical to the one they had just left. Panic set in as they realized the house was changing, trapping them in its labyrinthine layout. Hallways stretched and twisted, doors led to nowhere, and the whispers grew louder, mocking their terror. Sarah remembered the music box Jess had found. "Maybe it's a key, or a clue," she suggested, desperation in her voice. They retraced their steps to the child's bedroom, the music box still playing its haunting tune. Jess wound it up again, and as the melody played, the whispers seemed to respond, growing more frantic. A ghostly figure of a young girl appeared, translucent and shimmering. Her eyes were wide with sorrow, her voice a mere whisper, "Help us. Break the curse." "How?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. The girl pointed to the music box, then to the portrait on the wall of a stern-looking man. "He did this. Destroy the box, and we might be free." With trembling hands, Mark took the music box and hurled it to the floor. It shattered, and the house seemed to shudder. The whispers turned into wails, then faded into silence. The ghostly girl smiled faintly before dissolving into the air. The house groaned, and the walls seemed to close in. "We need to get out, now," Tom shouted. They rushed through the ever-changing hallways, the oppressive force weakening. Finally, they burst through the front door into the cold, night air. Gasping, they looked back at the house, which now stood silent and foreboding. They could feel the curse lifting, the malevolent presence dissipating. They had survived, but the experience had left its mark. As they walked back to their car, Sarah glanced back one last time. In an upstairs window, she saw the ghostly girl, now free, waving goodbye. The house at the edge of the woods was once again just an abandoned relic, its secrets buried in the past. But the friends knew they would never forget the horrors they had faced within its walls.